Deadbeat brother crashes my stolen car, so he gets a night in jail he'll never forget. I have an older brother, Dave, that has always been a jerk to me. There's only a 1 year gap between us, but he liked to beat me up when we were kids, and he always acted like anything that was mine was also his. He was also somewhat the golden child, which made me miserable. So no surprise I moved out at 18. My uncle is a now retired police officer and he took me in after I left home. He even hooked me up with a decommissioned police cruiser. I absolutely love that car. I don't know why, but Dave absolutely hated the fact I had that car. He drove 3 beater cars into the ground while my cruiser kept chugging along. Well, after his third beater finally died when he drove it into a pole, he asked to borrow my car. I had a bad feeling about it and said I wasn't going to do that. He called me entitled and said he needed a car to get to work, so I told him to take the bus because I know how he drives and my car was off limits. My parents called me after that and told me to just lend him my car. I said I wouldn't, no matter what they say, since I rely on the car and need it as well since it's my personal transportation. Dave wasn't the only one in the world with a job he needed to get to. My uncle congratulated me for standing up to them and gave me a high five. A few days later when I got off work the car wasn't where I parked it. I called my brother's cell, but he didn't pick up. Then I called my parents and asked them if he took my car. They denied it, so I said I was going to call the cops, and then they admitted he'd borrowed it because he needed it. I told them he better bring it back right now or I'll have police looking for him. They called me a jerk and then phoned Dave to bring my car back. He showed back up in the parking lot in my car 20 minutes later. I demanded to know how he stole my car, and he held up a set of police keys he bought online. I told him that if he ever stole my car again, I'd have him arrested. Then he had the audacity to ask for a ride home. I told him he made me wait in the December cold after stealing my car, so he could walk. He called me a jackass before I drove away. After that my uncle installed a tracking device in the car. When Christmas Day came I was celebrating with my family like every year. The roads were cold and icy, so I had to be very careful while driving. Well, Dave borrowed my car again during the Christmas party. Apparently he decided he was going to go pick up a friend and figured I wouldn't notice, but I did when I looked out the front window and saw my car was missing. I pulled up the tracking app and saw he was a few miles away. I then called his cell to yell at him. Everyone in the party saw this and asked what was going on, so I told them Dave stole my car again, and my uncle confirmed it wasn't the first time. Dave told me over the phone to screw off and he'd be back soon. I said he better not have been drinking, but he just hung up on me. Well, while I was watching the tracker app the dot stopped and didn't move for a while. Soon we got a panicked call from Dave asking for help. He'd crashed the car because he couldn't handle the icy roads and he wasn't used to a rear-wheel drive vehicle. So we piled in my parents' minivan and followed the tracker. We found Dave on the side of the road and my cruiser nose deep in a snow-filled ditch. My uncle was furious as it was formerly a car of his department, and I was mad as hell at Dave for stealing my car again. My parents wanted me to let it go, but I said enough was enough and was going to call the police. Dave begged me not to because he really had been drinking before he set off and would get a DUI. I said he was going to pay me back for my damned car then or I'd sue him. Well, as luck would have it, police were already aware of the accident and were driving in to check on the scene. Someone else had called them, I guess. My parents tried to say that I was the one driving the car and they were just there to help me. I said that wasn't true, and my uncle backed me up. In fact, one of the cops that was there recognized my uncle and they had a chat. Then they went to Dave and asked to see his license, which I then found out was suspended after he'd crashed his previous car. Then they breath tested him, and he wound up with cuffs slapped in his wrists while my mother was crying and begging the police not to take him away. But the officer just said that she and my dad could get arrested too for lying to the police. That shut my parents up, and we got back in the minivan. The Christmas party ended early and my parents drove me and my uncle home since he rode with me. They didn't say much to either of us the whole drive, and just sped away as soon as we were out of their van. They nearly slipped off the road themselves doing that. My brother was let out of jail the next day, and he looked so scared that he was practically crying. That's when my uncle started cracking up and revealed to us that his friends in the department never filed the DUI and just the charge for the suspended license, which was about a $600 fine. My uncle said he just wanted to teach Dave a lesson. The cops there had actually beat him up a bit while talking about prison and the poop they'd seen go on there. The best part was that it scared Dave so much that he actually pissed himself.